I believe FMP have had an explanation for that, and it's basically just a major glitch called fake second boots. So you only start with one of the boots out the pair.
We are underway with just an arrow upgrade in Link's house, and Christos headed up to the uncle, with Espeon headed off to the right to probably Hylia Island.
To go about answering what chat is asking us, they start with boots because boots are immensely overpowered in the seed type, as you will see soon.
That quad red rupee drop for Christos is very nice, but I gotta give the early better work out of the play to this power glove on the island.
Yep, and that is accessible because Espeon only has to clip up into a screen transition and then walk south to get an auto walk, which puts him conveniently right next to Hylia.
Yep, if you're not familiar with this mode of the game, that was a great start to kind of give you an idea of what to expect here. Also got our map check with Tower of Hera and Desert both being crystals, Eastern Palace being the blue pendant. So that gives us 2 dungeons that we can at least access. Can't complete them both in Sphere 1.
So, to explain a little bit, when you see a racer's dash buffer into a mountainside like that, you can do that without boots, but select buffer is much more tedious, so much slower. The idea is you clip in either 8 or 9 pixels, depending on which way you want to teleport, and then hold a direction into the slope, which will cause you to teleport upwards half a screen for 8 pixels, and downwards half a screen for 9 pixels.
Espeon just skipped grabbing the chest out of Sanctuary.
He's probably just going to respawn there anyway because of back of escape. It could actually save time if he could somehow narrow it down.
We get a map, the blue shirt, and the small key in the back of escape. So both dungeon items back there. We know the Sanctuary has an item now.
Also found the powder in Sahashla's hut, which is inner logic to be used right now to check Batcave.
Espeon getting tier 2 tree pole, or tier 3, I don't think he's taking any damage actually, which was just some small magic, significantly worse than the 4 red rupees.
With all the money that Sahashala saved up, that these racers robbed from him, it wouldn't really matter at this point though.
And at this point they have now checked all the same things. Except Christos has opened the Sanctuary chest and gotten the vanilla heart container in there. And now we're even.
Both of them are most likely headed to Kakariko right now, although we could see some interesting plays where Death Mountain would be prioritized at this point.
Yep, especially it's worth paying attention to how Espeon is going to route as this goes on. Christos is very, very good at execution, and I don't think anyone doesn't know this at this point. There's a reason he finished second in that spring tournament. Espeon's advantage is that he is better with the whole glitching thing. So I could imagine him trying to route things in a way to take advantage of some of the lesser known or lesser practiced glitches to try to get a leg up on Christos that doesn't involve the execution factor.
I know he has been experimenting recently with different openings to see how well he could route in just places that are really hard to hit early on in an Overworld Glitches Seed. his whole Sahasha's closet after Lake Hylia spawned from that one, because it's not unusual that you'll see a racer not touch Sahasha's area for about an hour into the seed.
I know that feeling all too well.
I mean, why would you want to? It's only 3 items and 3 very slow ones in Eastern Palace. Your Sphere Zero is huge in this mode.
Yeah, but also worth noting, we saw it a little bit ago, that the item on the Lumberjack ledge is just 3 bombs, so Aghanim is pretty much effectively entirely dead.
With that current item set, they can already get to the pyramid, although it's not in logic and it's fairly slow, but if they happen to find a bottle, well, Aghanim is, or a mirror, Aghanim is almost certainly never going to be done.
Both these racers taking advantage of the bonk rocks by the fortune teller there for a bomb. Espeon got 2 that'll cover Blind's Hut and the well. Christos got 1 and then went to buy bombs anyway.
Interesting decision to buy that 10 bomb pack with 1 already there, considering 5 chests are fairly likely to give you something.
Oh hey, magic mirror. That's a big find. And the bow, that's also nice.
I feel like he might not be too happy about that early mirror. Mirror's best found a bit later in the game, where it does not necessarily look like you have to do inefficient dark hole checks to try and find the pearl.
That's very true. Also, with the bow, I'm curious if we're going to see a clip over to Eastern Palace out of Kakariko instead of the usual play down the desert.
I think I expect Espeon would do desert and then clip over to Eastern. I don't think he checked K45, so he plans to check it after clipping into desert.
That would make a whole lot of sense. And we have gotten actually a decent chunk of value out of Kakariko here, which is not nearly as common in overworld glitches as it is in no glitch logic.
Certainly seeing some front loadedness here. Both one of the items that can drag on for very long in these seeds, so it's definitely something that they're very happy about.
The double fetch quest availability, probably a little bit less happy.
Fortunately, from their current position, Batcave isn't particularly a fetch quest. Christos, however, is skipping the bat clip.
If it's not, I would say it's not the easiest clip to do, so if you don't think that one item is going to be worth it, you're not 100% confident, just moving on, saving it for later makes sense.
Definitely, it's one of those clips where if you don't know the correct inputs, then it definitely has a chance to hardlock you. And hardlocks are, well, the worst thing that you could get in major glitches modes. Hardlocks are states where you cannot even save and quit out of the game, and you are forced to hard reset. And that may involve lost progress.
Espeon nails the Batcave clip as Christos finds a sword on Desert Ledge and is rewarded with a heart piece. Ah.
That could have very well been a big advantage, but fortunately it isn't. Or fortunately for Christos.
Now, Desert Palace, because you start with boots, even if it's boot locked, you can pretty much just clear out everything except Lamolus without any additional items. Although this upcoming room is really awful when bombs are your only weapon.
Definitely, I've seen racers who make the gambit that it's not actually worth checking this room when you only have bombs as your weapon.
And the fetch quest train continues with the shovel.
This seed was sponsored by chat.
Oh, don't say that. It'll get so much worse if it's a chat seed.
But there's another fetch quest of sorts.
Yep, nice plus is they can check the Bombo's tablet while they're over here just by clipping up on the ledge. Downside is that to, be able to get it, you need a level 2 sword, so they can only see what's there. They can't actually get the item.
Christos heading over to check it immediately. One of the big things about Overworld glitches is how much less painful some of these fetch quests are. The Bombo's tablet is usually painful because you have to enter the Dark World, mirror on top, and then maybe chain it together with something useful, which you can rarely do. Well, you can just clip up.
K45 has a heart piece, so not much value there. And now he's going to clip back to... No, he's not going to clip back. He's going to do shovel.
Better get it out of the way right now, although he would have had another chance to do so with Stumpy. Not much value from these fetch quests yet, though.
Yeah, only the mushroom and one book spot left unchecked, and so far we've gotten a heart piece and some couch cash and a bomb upgrade. Now in a nice little bit of routing that I think most people end up starting to do, Christos is saving Agino's cave for last, so we can just easily save and quit out of here instead of having to run all the way back out of the cave.
In the meantime, the clip that you saw there from Espeon is what we call a spin speed clip, basically. The super speed minor glitch, or in the most cases minor glitch, that our racers frequently use in no major glitches runs. Well, in this case, you're allowed to use the other use of that glitch, which is clipping through joints between horizontal and diagonal cliffs in certain spots.
Yep, a little bit nicer, a little bit easier than the regular boots clips, but not always an option.
For it to work, you specifically need a cliff that has a follow-up that's not horizontal, I believe, or a one of those separator walls that you can see at the edge of that mountain.
Now, Christos sticking to kind of the standard no glitches routing here. He's heading over to Mini Moldorm Cave to follow up the initial checks, and we'll be getting 5 items back here.
Espeon also opting to skip the clip over to Eastern Palace. I actually just realized that Eastern was offended, so not terribly surprised that it's not happening right now.
I feel like Bo tends to come so late, it's usually not a bad idea if you get Bo to just go to Eastern anyway, and if there's an item on Armos, go ahead and get it. Nice little spin speed clip there.
On the other hand, with Mirror in hand, he does have a chance to go down to Palace of Darkness as a bunny, or well, the Pyramid as a bunny, and gain Link State from one of the trees. Which would let him check Palace of Darkness and Eastern Palace at the same time with it.
That's a very good point. For now, he's heading into Tower of Hera, gets the big key downstairs, so completing the dungeon is not fire-locked, but an item might be hidden in that vanilla big key spot. Christos heading back from Ice Rod Cave, going to use some water walking to go check Hobo and Zora area, or maybe just Zora area, it looks like. This is in logic, unlike no glitch. Actually, no, this is not in logic right now to get to Waterfall Fairy, which he's skipping anyway.
The cave is only in the logic with Pearl, and yes, if he activates the water walk where he did instead of fake flippering to Hobo, it's most likely that he's going to head up to Zora. Since he didn't dip into the cave, it's also possible that he wanted to save the state for clipping over to the flipper ledge. But it looks like he's going to leave without ever checking Waterfall Fairy Cave.
Yeah, Waterfall Fairy Cave is an odd little quirk of logic. For those who don't know, I believe it was V28. There was, or maybe V27 even, there was a update that coincided with the festive Christmas update that ended up breaking the underworld setup for the Boots Water Walk. You needed Pearl to be able to do it. The logic of overworld glitches at that time, to my knowledge, actually got updated to require the Pearl for Waterfall Fairy Cave, and then that glitch got fixed, but the logic did not change accordingly.
I believe that's when Overworld glitches got a facelift and introduced the starting boots, basically to make the mode more accessible and this gateway thing for no logic. Because otherwise you had to do a whole lot of select buffering. That's never too pleasant.
And Espeon finishing off Tower of Hera, the small key is in the vanilla big key chest, so they don't have to worry about that. And he got a Master Sword off of Trolldorm, so he's going to get this Ether Tablet item instead of just seeing what's there.
It's actually a minor time loss compared to checking the tablet before going into Hera.
And so getting all these fetch quests so early, and every single one of them was garbage.
I think our expectations are already set with the mirror. I fully expect the next thing behind mirror to be myths.
I could see that, or the required bunny trip over to Skull Woods, which is always oh so fun.
Yes, but only the front of Skull Woods would be in the logic, even with Pyra, because you could beat Ag 1 and then lock yourself out of Skull Woods without using one fairly convoluted and risky clip from T-Rock.
Both of these two saving the old man. Christos has one thing that Espeon doesn't from his checks of South Shore, which is a bottle that he filled up with a blue potion, so he can do fake fluting, which is actually a pretty valuable advantage right now.
Yep, the two best uses for fake flute right now for him would be to go to Darkwold Thieves Town or the Darkwold Swamp area. Both of those places containing a fair few chests, and they are out of logic, but could give him an edge even before Pearl that could prove very useful and efficient.
Espeon doing a neat little trick to get into King's Tomb, jumping off the ledge above Graveyard ledge, and then proceeding to land between a bush and a dark rock. That makes the game confused and allows him to pick up the dark rock instead of the bush and work his way into King's Tomb as such.
Yep, as long as you're standing on top of something that you can pick up, the game will check, oh, you can pick up the thing that you're standing on. Oh, hey, mitts. And that allows you to just pick up dark rocks that are next to you without the mitts.
Of course, we then find out that he actually wasted a little bit of time by doing things the way he did, as he could have just grabbed those mitts on the way down and entered it normally.
Yes, that is a that is a funny situation that he got into there. Also, since he jumped off of Death Mountain, he cannot go into the back of Escape without first resetting his camera in a multi-entrance game. So when he jumped down the back of entrance hall, he wound up in the Houlihan room.
Had that slight little moment of confusion, and then okay, I know how to get out of this. Let's go.
It did give him enough rupees that he'll be set for the rest of this season. Now, he is attempting a clip to Hera without using spin speed. If you can nail it without being hit by cabbages, it's actually still slightly faster than spinning with your sword, and it lands you right at the entrance as opposed to right next to it.
Now he's heading over to Eastern Death Mountain, the key being don't press up while you're circling the D-pad there. So if you press it too early, then you end up just stuck in the wall forever.
Yep, there's only one reason to ever do that, and that's when you're climbing it in the Dark World. And you're fairly high up, because then pressing up will put you in a position where you can set yourself up for a mirror wrap without having to bomb yourself to a transition.
Using the mirror to get rid of those Baris to not deal with anything as Christos finishes up Tower of Hera. Likely going to be heading over to East Death Mountain as well, I would think.
It makes sense, but he's also going to waste his time picking up a shield.
Okay, that was the most minor time save I have ever seen someone clip to do.
It actually makes sense. It's about 5 seconds faster, and it gets him to that fire rod about 5 seconds faster.
Yeah, Fire Rod is a nice addition, especially with half magic. It's a very strong weapon.
And that's the two, well, the second and third biggest troll item out of the way already. Meanwhile, Christos is doing a Pyramid Fairy clip, but he reset his camera beforehand, so he's about to realize that his Dark World portal is not down in Hyrule Castle Courtyard.
Yeah, thankfully he realized it before getting all the way to the courtyard, but then got stuck in a Tower of Hera wall. Now, before the race, he predicted 4 soft locks. That's number 1. I'm going to be counting.
That's actually not a soft lock. If he holds up there, he hops off of Hera, and he's all fine. Meanwhile, Espeon performs a Death Mountain descent to the Witch, using an auto walk from that position, and this lets him just quickly turn that mushroom out of Paradox Cave.
This is what I get for not practicing this game for over a week now. I actually forgot that wasn't just a straight up soft lock.
The only key that you cannot press there, I believe, is down, because that gets you in the position where you have to jump off of Hera as opposed to just kind of get knocked out of it.
So shoutouts to Espeon bonking that set of bonk rocks instead of just picking up the dark rock directly next to it and saving himself some time.
He is a true glitch mode runner. He does not acknowledge the existence of myths.
And I don't know why anyone would once they're familiar enough with this mode.
If anything, in Overworld glitches, myth suggests that you should be doing things that you don't necessarily want to do. Now, Christos has placed his Dark World portal correctly the second time around. His global position was much further down than it actually showed on screen, which was Hyrule Castle Courtyard, and that allowed him to just place Dark World portal in the doorway of the Pyramid Ferry, where he found the Moon Pearl.
Yeah, which is a very nice find for him. He's going to go check the Pyramid Ledge. I was kind of hoping for the whole Moon Pearl in Mireshed thing with the Mitts and Mirror going on, but didn't quite get that lucky today.
I was about to mention Moon Pearl and Ice Palace with Fire Rod and Mitts.
Get our Dark World map check.
Green pendant in Misery Maya and red pendant in Skull Woods. The 5-6 crystals do not matter.
I mean, what if they really need to go back to Pyramid Fairy and they lose their mirror at some point?
They'll find another mirror.
That seems like a much better option than going through Swamp and Pod just to get back in there.
I mean, would you be desperate enough to go back to Pyramid Fairy to do Swamp Palace?
Not likely. Espeon is setting himself up for this Pyramid Fairy clip, so he'll be getting his Pearl very soon.
It makes total sense. Out of your bad Darkhold options, it's most certainly the least painful and has the best potential. And as chat points out, if Christos had placed his Darkhold portal down a bit from where he did, he wouldn't have needed 4 attempts to get out of there. Every time you walk back out and get hopped back in, you are placed a few pixels downwards, and you need to get entirely out of the doorway in order to escape the Pyramid Fairy's clutch.
Now, Espeon did some interesting routing there, dropping into the Houlihan room to respawn at Link's house to go over to his portal. I'm not actually sure, and I feel like that might be actually slower than just doing normal Death Mountain descent and going through the side entrance of the castle, but it looks neater.
It's actually faster, unless you can do the river clip and the castle jump afterwards fairly fast.
Oh, that's good to know. I kind of, watching him do that, I didn't know. That seemed like it might just have more screen transitions and that might make it take longer.
It's deceptive because there's actually a fair few transitions that you have to do on the land bridge.
That's very true. Now, he is swimming around down here to hop out down by Hype Cave.
Yep. The moat around the pyramid and around Hyrule Castle by extension is actually incredibly broken because the devs never expected you to be able to swim in it. Another notable application is that you can hop out into the Hammerpegs area without the mitts.
Wow, that was a bad Hype Cave.
Extremely boring.
Although Pod hasn't really had anything of note either so far for Christos. He's doing a nice little bomb jump to save some time here.
He was walking around with 4 small keys there. I expect that Pod is just living up to its reputation and has all the items in the back.
Well, there's an item, a piece of heart.
And 10 arrows.
And that 10 arrows is actually the last chest in Logic due to the lack of a lamp, so anything from here is a sequence break.
One that is going to be made by every player, at least for the basement, ever.
Yep, and by experienced runners, probably for the whole dungeon. I think most people eventually just learn all of the dark rooms, because Lamp can be a royal jerk.
Yes, it can, and you are allowed to pull up online maps of dark mazes. Speaking of Lamp...
Hey! There it is! That's it's a nice find. Not necessarily necessary for... I know Christos doesn't need it for anything. I'm pretty certain Espeon doesn't either. But now all these dark rooms are in Logic, which is a nice plus.
Should also be noted that my medallion is Bombos, which is the only medallion that you truly require. Even in no Logic modes, we do not really know of a way yet that is reliably going to get you past the Mire entrance.
Isn't it
At
something
least.
silly like that entrance doesn't even exist on the map until you use the medallion?
I believe that's actually Lumberjack, not Maya, but it could be for Maya as well. The Lumberjack entrance 100% of the time does not exist until you beat Agawon. It just isn't there. There's no way to clip or glitch into it. To answer chat, if the key layout is bad, you can compensate by stealing the key from the center pokey. In that case, you will never need to open up the front door of TR. And that's without, that's assuming without mirror wrap.
Espeon taking advantage of these myths to check the blacksmiths. Unfortunately, just gets 20 bucks, which is pretty disappointing.
He is very rightly wondering, though, why he got both gloves so very early into his seed.
I'm definitely feeling the Ice Palace play. Hammerless, hookshotless Ice Palace, a thing that everyone wants to do.
Hammer and Ice is definitely going to be a problem for them if it happens to be true. Christos about to get his fire source.
And it could be quite a while before Christos does get those Titan's Myths. Graveyard Ledge, if you don't do it really early, becomes just as bad to route in Overworld glitches as it is in no glitches, honestly.
I disagree with that assessment because it's right there. Every time you spawn, you just pass by it.
It is, it's just that you don't really have any way to combo it with anything at that point, so you're just doing a save and quit specifically to check it.
It's true. If you're not using it as your descent for the Pyramid Fairy clip, it's kind of awkward. It's a bit like Spike Cave in No Major Glitches in that regard.
Espeon making the dive into Thieves Town here, which is going to have 4 items. Really, he's just going to be hoping there's nothing in the big chest, because without the hammer, you can't get to that. Christos going to head over to East Dark Death Mountain, which is 1 chest in Hookshot Cave, 2 in Super Bunny Cave, and he could jump into T-Rock. Hey, there's the Ice Rod, speaking of T-Rock. But neither of these runners hover, so Hookshot Cave will be handled in logic with just 1 chest gotten now, the rest later with Hook...
Oh!
That's
pretty big.
Yeah, that's a big pickup. Hammer isn't quite as valuable in this mode as it is in No Glitches, but it still opens up a ridiculous amount of spots.
And it's still required because you need Hammer to complete 4 of the dungeons. I could be wrong.
There is... If T-Rock is a pendant, you can avoid Hammer in this mode if the GT Big Key is right side, but it's a stupidly particular setup of stuff.
Stars would need to align. You can avoid T-Rock hammer requirements though with mirror wrap, so that's also not necessarily a problem.
Yeah, the Ice Palace, Swamp, and Pod all require hammer within the dungeon. T-Rock only requires it to enter, and obviously we have multiple ways to skip that in this mode. So that's why, unlike No Glitches Seed, hammer isn't 100% required. Just, 99.99%.
And also, as chat points out, Hammer opens up 15 chests in Ganon's Tower, Although without the hook shot, it's still a sequence break, but you can compensate with 2 bomb jumps. It's actually fairly simple.
Yeah, I think logically just the hammer alone only puts in 1 extra chest, and that's a double firebar room since you can bonk to it.
That is correct.
And I don't actually know for sure if Espeon has gotten all 4 items out of Thieves' Town. I know he got 3 up front. And he has...
I can tell you that the smoky is in a big chest.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I noticed his key count was 0. I'm like, oh, I know the answer to this already.
But he could have forgotten that this was a Overworld Glicious Seed and used that key in Desert.
I think we would have noticed if he was going that far.
It's true.
So yeah, technically Blind and the attic chests are hammer locked. We know where the hammer is, so that doesn't really matter. And neither of them were anything useful anyway. Christos making the play I half expected him to make after getting that hammer, saying, well, I was just at pod, but now I can go finish it, so let's head back this way.
Speaking of dungeons that require hammer, I think we're on a good road towards being able to go mode Swamp Palace at this point. So that might be good news for our runners.
I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit too early to call on that one. I mean, they could get the flippers and then have their hookshot and Cane of Samaria in Swamp.
It's a possibility, definitely.
I swear I'm not too salty about that happening in back-to-back seats still.
I mean, in this particular seat, they could just decide to hover the last room in T-Rock and not ever pick up their cane.
Now we're getting a play into Skull Woods by Espeon as Christos faces everyone's favorite scorpion cat.
Wait. Cat?
It's vaguely cat-like.
Now I cannot unsee it. Espeon finding the silver arrows in Skull Woods.
That'll make his fight against Helmasaur a little bit easier and quicker than Christos to get that bug net that serves 0 value whatsoever.
Yep, although Christos made very quick work of the second phase by using his held out sword to extend the hitbox of his hammer. Very clever strategy there.
Yeah, the NMG strat saves a lot of time if you go in there without silvers and just Master Sword. So now he's actually walking out of pod here. I'm curious where he's going to head to.
I think that he hasn't... No, wait, both of them have been to Hype Cave, right?
Yep, looks like he's just going around this path to get over to the Village of Outcasts area.
I think that if he's heading to Village of Outcasts... Oh no, he hasn't checked Stumpy and anything on the west side yet, so that's why. Because otherwise, he could have used his blue potion to fake flute to Outcasts, or even saving and quitting and then Death Fountain descending would have been faster.
Very true. First, he's going to go make his check of the mire area, get his lamp, realize that all that pod stuff was actually in logic. And looks like Espeon is planning to do a check of everyone's favorite location.
Oh boy, it's the dig spot.
Close.
But it's just a little piece of love, apparently.
Thankfully for these runners' sanity, it is not a pedestal seed.
He did opt to not finish Skull Boots on this one there.
Yeah, I am kind of surprised about that. With half magic, a green potion from Stumpy, Fire Rod already, Master Sword, Blue Mail, you're in pretty good shape to take out Mothula. Oh, that's right, it is a pendant, so that makes sense.
Right, he could have gotten both items. I actually wouldn't be surprised if that was the case.
Yeah, right at the end of that whole thing about reasons why it would make sense to do, I realized, wait a second.
I was actually looking at Swamp to see if it was a crystal. I did double check before asking. Turns out I was wrong all along. Ooh, Christos is going to go for the Mirror Wrap to Ice Palace. He does not need to do this because Myths are in Graveyard Ledge, but it definitely is pretty good.
Yep, it's a play that very well might be the one the game wants him to make. He's just doing it the out-of-logic way the game doesn't expect.
Oh no. Oh no. How much did you check? He jumped into a hard lock.
And he's going to have to at least go back and clear pot again.
Oh no. Yeah, he only has one crystal. He lost his progress on Palace of Darkness.
On the bright side, he had cleared out everything except the boss the first time through, so he really just has to go back to kill Helmasaur, but that's still a very noteworthy time loss.
I think he's just opting to go for Ganon's Tower from here.
Yeah, there was nothing valuable in any of those checks except for he now has one bottle instead of two.
Or... Hold on one second, what is this? I think he may have been going for the Swamp Super Jump, but then he was in the wrong spot for that.
Yeah, it kind of looked that way. Espeon heading over to East Death Mountain will be getting his hammer now.
I think Christos will realize in a moment that he has both hammer and gloves, so he doesn't need anything special to enter the Dark World. Speaking of hammer, Espeon picking up his.
And speaking of him realizing that he doesn't need anything else to access the Dark World, here he goes. That's actually, in my experience, one of the hardest things to get in your mind in an Overworld glitch seed, is you get so used to going to Death Mountain for Dark World access, and then you get the hammer and gloves, and you don't remember that those actually do things.
On the other hand, Kakariko Village and Village of Outcasts in general, for example, are placed in such an awkward location that Death Mountain descending in the Dark World is almost not a time loss compared to running there from Sanctuary and entering the Dark World through the very awkward loop-de-loop portal.
True. Once you get Mitts, it's a little bit quicker to just go ahead and go into the Kakariko portal, but before then, probably quicker without. Tempered Sword off Catfish.
That's a very nice find, although without flippers, he's not going to be taking those whirlpools.
Yep, that movement makes me think that he's planning to make that Ice Palace play right about now.
It would make a whole lot of sense, and he's going there in the Light World.
Seems very indecisive about how he wants to get to Ice Palace, but that's definitely where he's headed.
This is probably the best route anyway, because your alternative would be to do the hobo clip and flipper from there, but it's so slow to go around that channel.
Christos going to go ahead and head back to Helmasaur King, wipe him out again. Don't blame him. You want to get that crystal progress back. When you lose some time to a hard lock, it's very hard to not just go directly back.
He did not find anything relevant on Helmasaur King though, so he could have delayed this play. It's not actually a terrible idea to go finish Ganon's Tower and then head to Palace of Darkness and then head back to the pyramid.
Now see, my thought on doing this first is you've already cleared the boss once. It'll be very easy to forget later that you lost that crystal. So if you don't knock it out quickly, then there's a chance that you completely forget you don't have it, go try to fight Ganon and go, oh.
I feel like when you are hit by a hard lock that makes you lose a lot of progress, that memory kind of sticks with you.
Actually gets a slightly better Helmasaur fight on round 2, and we are here in Ice Palace.
I think after that one, Christos will know to save and quit before attempting the mirror wrap. It's not the only part of the mirror wrap that could hardlock you pretty bad. You actually do have to walk very close to a hardlocking transition while performing the mirror wrap. And if you don't walk close enough to it, you simply softlock.
And this time he's going to go ahead and check Eastern Palace, his third visit to Pod, and he's like, I don't want to come back over here ever again. Also worth noting, the first chest of Ice Palace was the map. So, hey, Bombos, we can get into Misery Mire now.
That could potentially be huge if Maya ends up having, say, the Cane of Samaria.
Yep, and kind of back to what I was saying before that, fine. Espeon here in Ice Palace found a map in the first chest. If the next chest is not a small key, then things start being hookshot locked.
Logically speaking, of course, because an experienced runner doesn't really get locked out of Ice Palace, lacking both Cane of Samaria and Hookshot.
Yeah, logic is important to remember, but as soon as you do the Ice Palace bomb jump, if you know one other bomb jump, it's impossible for this palace to block your progression.
Christos doing the spin speed clip that is only faster if you pull it off first try, otherwise walking around the rock and lifting the rock like he did would have been better.
And Espeon finding the Ether Medallion, which is useless, but it can make TR routing a little bit more convenient for him.
I'd be actually very surprised if Espeon decided not to mirror wrap into T-Rock on his first visit.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. That would be the best routing of the dungeon.
And with the logic not accounting for the mirror wrap, you'll get at least one of the items guaranteed from Laser Bridge, but the average case looks more like 3 of them.
Christos re-grabbing his 2 items from Mire Shed, and he's going to make the play into Mire. I feel like this is the I hardlocked and lost progress, I need to do something that Espeon's not going to do play.
Yeah, I don't really agree with this one with Thieves Town open. Ice Palace, even if not logically, there's the Mirror Wrap. Desert Palace completable. There's too many crystal locations open. Yeah,
this is a play that if not for that loss of progress, I would completely disagree with. With it, I think it's a good way to try to make up some ground.
Right, it can definitely put him far ahead if there ends up being anything here.
Meanwhile, this Ice Palace dip had Ether, which is useless, and has been otherwise completely useless since then.
Nothing's worse than full clearing Ice Palace because you're given the items and finding nothing of use except something that would put something that you could access into logic.
Taking the quick route over to the iced tea room, Christos has gotten a map and a key in the first two chests of Meyer. And that chest had to be the big key, so now he takes the big key back upstairs, goes over to the big chest. He has to actually take the intended route to the big chest, because without the hookshot, he has no other way to get it.
Which means he'll have to bomb jump back, or otherwise he's in for a very long walk.
Item number 1 out of Misery Mire is $20, not really what Christos was hoping for coming in here. And item number 3 of Ice Palace is the cape.
The question is, at this point, have you invested enough into your Maya play that you really, really feel like you need to get that green pendant item as well?
Well, to do that, he would need to get the Cane of Samaria in the next couple chests.
You are absolutely correct. I've been thinking with no logic. In my defense, he does have 2 bottles, I believe.
I can't recall if he ever went back to Stumpy and got number 2.
That's actually a fair point. I don't think he would spend time on getting that. Does not save him a whole lot of time unless he plans to chain fake flutes, but why would he?
Espeon with a pretty decent cold stare kill gets his small key, meaning that this dungeon was Samaria locked, as if that mattered, his crystal, and he can move on.
At least he has logical access to the side of T-Rock that requires him to get to the Cane of Samaria.
And also, in a very specific response to chat, the Ice Rod was in the vanilla big key chest in Thieves Town, which Christos has not yet touched.
And that's the second item of Misery Maya, a piece of heart.
Yep, and Christos felt behind enough to make a pendant Mire dip on a whim like that. He's gonna feel even worse, getting nothing out of it.
One could say that the piece of heart that he picked up in Misery Maya is a metaphor for his own right now.
Espeon saying, please let that Ice Palace play pay off. Make this cape worth something.
To be fair, with 2 bottles, I think it's just in logic anyway. Not sure how well it accounts for that, but he does end up dying lifting the rock, so he has to redo that.
Yeah, he forgot to ever actually activate the cape. And as for Spike Cave logic, it does require either cape and bottle or half magic, or Cane of Burna, since it doesn't track heart pieces. Back when it did just assume you would have enough health, it actually caused the soft lock seed ones.
It looks like he's going to go for it again, and he has learned a lesson about the Y button there.
Christos going into Landmolus. This should be a nice easy fight with Fire Rod. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Didn't quite get the 6 shots off.
Looks like Espeon's planning to go to Ganon's Tower. He will spin speed back out of Spike Cave. Nice and easy way out of Spike Cave if you ever have to leave it.
Yep, and now you don't have to reset your camera to get to Ganon's Tower. This is a little bit easier if you have the hookshot, but otherwise you can just do this clip manually and it works just as well.
Yep, and I expect that he will clear the entire left side with bump jumps if he doesn't find the hookshot in here.
So far, right side with 2 small keys, which I believe that means right away that Tile Room is just in logic.
Would be if they had the cane.
Yeah, I forgot that part. For some reason, I was thinking that Tile Room was without Kane, and then the rest of it was with Kane. I'm dumb.
I just forgot about the cane and Misery Maya, so now we're even.
Now, Espeon going to do the bomb jump here to get over to the Stalfos room.
Yep, that's the easier bomb jump. It requires basically no lineup, since when you're placing a bomb vertically, it's going to be directly under or over you. Will always knock you vertically if you move far enough away. Picks up the big key of Ganon's Tower in the Stalfos room and Buttersword.
Yep, so we know the entire upstairs as well as the big chests are hookshot locked. And we got, I want to say, 1 small key alongside that big key.
Yes, 1 small key and the cane of Brian. Now, Espeon doesn't seem to realize that you can actually bonk off of that 1 rock and land on the southernmost platform. The bomb jump setup is extremely stressful here.
Yeah, he is definitely making this harder on himself than it needs to be. Spin setup makes it pretty free regardless, but when you make a mistake, it does hurt there.
The reason the spin setup isn't actually free is because even if you're at the very edge, your sword will be able to reach the spike. So if you do it at the wrong time, the spike will regardless knock you off.
Oh, that's true. I forgot that it could move you while you spun.
Christos, meanwhile, opted not to sequence break the Stalfos room just yet.
Worth noting that everything from here on out is logically hookshot locked, so if we get anything, we know it can't block that.
Wait, I'm not mistaken here, right? Christos just straight up skipped Stalfos room.
Yep, he may not have wanted. He may not want to try to bother with doing the bomb jump and everything, I guess.
Fair enough.
That said, that's the second relatively quick check that he is not made yet that is costing him a sword, and that's pretty unfortunate.
Not only the relatively quick checks that cost him a sword, but there's a relatively quick check that cost him a glove. And hey, Espeon picking up the hookshot blocked Cane of Samaria.
Yep, so now we're just looking for flippers and hookshot.
This could be a French with vanilla hookshot if the flippers are conveniently located. Or even vanilla.
So what do you think? You got that cane, you know it's hookshot locked. Do you make the play into T-Rock knowing that most of the chests in there are not hookshot locked?
I feel like as long as you're missing the flippers, you still are kind of inclined to make that play. If you ever pick up the flippers, well, you'll probably not spend a whole lot of time clearing them. Ooh, Christos getting bonked by Bob and causing him to miss the chest.
Now he'll have two options, either after Ice Armos going back down to that chest, or saying, I will never open that chest if it's the last thing I do. And we do know that neither of these two will make the play upstairs in GT early, because Hookshot can't be up there, neither of them hover, so they would not waste their time.
Yep, if you cannot hover at this point, you will leave Ganon's Tower after checking the right side.
I was gonna say they both skipped Tower Room, and then Espeon went, wait, I might as well check this one here.
It's a risky one. It wastes a lot of time. You definitely don't find Hookshot in there, so the only thing you could really hope for is Flippers.
In the Compass Room is 20 bucks, a blue potion, and 2 pieces of heart, so Ganon's Tower had exactly one item of value in the entire downstairs, and that was that Cane of Samaria.
But it was big value. Tower Room is flukes. Well,
I'd just like to point out that does not change my statement in any way, shape, or form.
yes, I agree with that assessment 100%.
Taking bets on whether they even bothered to activate the flute at this point or not?
Probably not. No way. Why would they?
I could actually see argument for Christos doing it, because he's got to go right to Thieves Town still. So a mirror in front of it could activate the flute. That makes a few checks a little bit quicker. But
I feel like if Christos was willing to make the Misery Maya play to make up for the time he lost with the Hardlock, he's also willing to make the play to entirely skip the Tower Room.
that's very true. He might just never go back there.
And of course, they picked up a better flute on the right side of GT. It only has one use, but it works in the Dark World.
And Espeon heading into the Dark World down here. I'm assuming this is his play over to Pod.
Is this really faster than entering Dark World at 5?
I mean, you don't have to do the fake flute to do it this way, at least. Christos heading down from Sanctuary. He is heading over to Village of Outcasts now, so he'll be doing his Thieves Town play, get his Ice Rod. They're just going to be going over each other's steps here for a while.
It's probably a good time to ask the question, so where would Hookshot really be? Because as we know, well, T-Rock can only have that particular item in 2 of the chests now. Maybe with optimal key layout, 3 of them.
One option that's definitely on the table is Eastern Palace. Christos got Bombos out of the first chest and immediately left.
Good point. Oh, Espeon somehow pushed the button without smashing the skull. That's actually amazing. Never seen that before.
Yeah, it's one of those this game doesn't know how to walk and breathe at the same time type of things. Because he was in a position to hit that switch on the same frame the hammer of the Hammer Dash crushed it, it just didn't despawn the pot. Christos going through Thieves Town here will get his Ice Rod, and I expect we'll probably see both of them heading into T-Rock before too much longer.
Yeah, even with it being hookshot locked for the most part, there's 5 items, and each and every one of those could be the flippers.
Yep, and they don't have a whole lot of other good options. Like, once Chris is done here, he could make the Ice Palace play that he was going to try to make earlier, but he's already done Pendant Mire, he's already going to have Thieves Town done, he will probably check Skullwoods while he's up here, so he's not going to have a whole lot of other options left, honestly.
In the meantime, after clearing Palace of Darkness, I could see Espeon making the Eastern Palace play here, considering he really won't find anything of value in Pod.
I don't know, he's getting that bug net from Helmasaur. That could give him tons of stuff to do.
It's great value while you don't have the Pearl, and even then modern glitches actually kind of make the bug net almost worthless. As long as you can afford to buy blue potions, you don't really need fairies.
Very true, and Espeon making the play into the back using that cape to get through there a little bit easier. He's also going to have a doubly easier time on Helmasaur because his choices are now either Silver Arrow or 2 Butter Slashes instead of 4 Hammer Hits or 4 Master Sword Spins or 8 Slashes.
Chat raising a good point. I don't think we've seen either of these runners make a play to Zelda's Cell. And we know that the back of his cape had both the map and the key. So there's 3 items in the front and 1 in the sewers.
Yeah, that's very true. 4 items that were available since the very beginning, and will make anyone feel terrible if they find the hookshot or the flippers in there.
To answer the question in chat, with their current item set, they can pick which TR entrance they come through. Any of them are accessible.
Yep, 2 of those entrances the logic expects, the one from the Mimic Cave Ledge and the one, the Vanilla entrance. The other one is the Laser Bridge door. Logic will never ask you to do it, but you can do it.
And if you've ever played Entrance Randomizer, you'll know how convenient it is to go through T-Rock backwards. You save 2 small keys.
Yep, including going through one of the few things that the Rando devs have actually changed about the vanilla game. In a small key door that was removed from reverse T-Rock that isn't there in forward T-Rock, because it's usually a big key door. They just took that out because it was potential soft lock.
Although I believe that is there in no logic. I could be wrong, but I think it's there.
Christos heading back up the mountain. We'll see where he's heading next. This could be that T-Rock play now they got that Ice Rod.
I guess the question is, which entrance does he prefer here? Oh, good. I'm wrong. Thank you, Taj. Looks like he is opting not to do the mirror.
He's gonna go in this middle entrance. He's gonna mirror over, check Mimic Cave, which also this is the first time we've seen, despite it being open for ages.
It has been logically open, pretty much ever since they got both the Pearl and the mirror. No, just the mirror. It has been open without the Pearl.
Yep, and yet only 50 rupees.
The only bad thing about entering this way is, well, the fact that if you don't get the optimal key layout, you have to steal a key and can't check the vanilla big key chest until you clear the front. Or alternatively, you can come back through the front if this doesn't pan out, but it's all hard choices, really.
Yet there are so many different ways TR can be laid out, and so many different ways that every possible way to route it can bite you.
Espeon, meanwhile, making quick work of Helm Swacking, getting his 4th crystal.
Oh boy, the level 2 shield!
And this is what I'm talking about. Unless he finds a small key here in the chain jump chest, he's going to have to come back through the front. Which he cannot because he does not have the Ether Medallion.
Yep, that was hiding in that first, well, not first, in the Freezor chest in Ice Palace.
He does get his small key so he can continue.
And these next few chests are all sequence breaks of the hookshot, so we know hookshot can't be here, but we're looking for the flippers. In Christos' case, he may also be looking for that second pair of gloves.
And of course we're looking for the T-Rock big key, because without that, you're gonna have a hard time getting to Trinex. Finding the flippers here would also be a really big deal. Because that would indicate that Swamp just straight up doesn't have the hookshot.
Okay, so Christos went the wrong way, then realized he didn't have hookshot, and at least in a waste of time lighting the torches, having to wait for him to go out.
Yep, Espeon meanwhile checking something Christos hasn't. Chests beyond the first one in Eastern, but he only got a big key and a compass so far. Items coming up shortly. The map. It continues to be elusive.
Yep, the next two chests, I believe, are definitely items. I believe we saw the big key already.
Yep, he has to go all the way to Almost to get his final item if this one doesn't turn out to be what he's looking for. And since he's looking for 2 items, I don't think he'll ever risk leaving Eastern without having checked all 3.
2 shields in T-Rock, including just one chest later than its vanilla location. How friendly.
At least you come prepared to the laser bridge.
Yeah, it makes that a little bit easier in return for a little bit of, unavoidable lag. Espeon finding item number 2 out of Eastern Palace. It's a big 20, so there is 1 item remaining left on Armos.
And one thing that sticks out to me, I don't think Espeon ever finished the Smith Chain, so I think the purple chest is still just sitting there.
And we find flippers, so Swamp has nothing in it. The only thing it could have is a hookshot, and that can't be in there.
Yep, so it's looking a bit more likely right now that Mitz will be blocking access to the hookshot.
I will really enjoy if after all this, the early play to Eastern would have paid off.
Oh yeah, if Amos has the hookshot, each racer has something the other doesn't, but Espeon definitely has an advantage because he's going to pass by those flippers.
Yeah, knowing he'll mirror wrap, he'll probably know about those right away, and then mirror back as soon as he gets that big key, and there it is!
Wow!
So, if if you all remember at the beginning of the scene, we got the bow super early in the earliest checks of the run. And me and Bally here both mentioned that, you might clip over to Eastern Palace and use that bow to try to see where it leads. Turns out that was, a correct judgment call.
Never doubt that early bow, even if Eastern is a pendant. And this is going to be very painful for Christos, who left Eastern after that Bombos medallion and opted to check Myra instead.
Yep, if he had just cleared out all of Eastern while he was there, I would say he would probably be in a pretty sizable advantage right now.
And so Espeon is in fact in go mode after he does this mirror wrap and picks it up in the laser bridge, so he should be... Oh, he's opting not to mirror wrap, so he'll be fine because one of the two chests will have been a key.
Oh, he's gonna go check Hookshot Cave first.
Christos, in the meantime, is making a play on something. Oh, he's going for Mitzel's hammer pegs.
Yep, which is not a bad call, but at least it could be... Well, no, it couldn't really be anything that he could want.
Well, we know it's not something, but it's fair to say he's probably looking for mitts or something that helps him just not have to do mirror wraps to ice. Ironically enough, he probably could have gotten here faster if he did a mirror wrap in Village of Outcasts.
Instead he gets a heart container, which, let's be honest, with Blue Mail and Tempered Sword is not something that Christos of all people needs.
I'm surprised he opted to pick it up.
And Espeon is being a monster and entering T-Rock from the front. I actually like this play because the highest percentage of chests that could have the big key are at the front. So if you do plan to go backwards and do the mirror wrap, coming in here first, checking these chests, if you get the big key early, you can jump back out and proceed to check backwards from there.
Meanwhile, now that it's in logic, Christos is going for the Waterfall Fairy Cave. But we know that it's also not going to get him anything he wants.
Yeah, the only thing we really have outstanding that could be found is the Quake Medallion. We know all 4 swords, we know all 3 shields. I guess there's still one mail upgrade out there.
Now he's about to realize that lifting that rock is going to prove difficult. Now, Espeon traveling T-Rock forward, so he's probably going to open every chest until he gets those flippers, and it's going to be fairly annoying for him. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you up there.
It's all good. Yeah, I think... oh, no, he's gonna do the thing where he just mirrors out. And either gonna jump to the big chest or mirror wrap. I'm not sure which he'll choose to do.
I feel like since if he mirror wraps, he's going to skip both the big chest and another big key chest. It's actually kind of hard to infer if there's anything left unless you're like given a big hint with the compass and the map not showing up or something like that. So this is probably the right call.
Yeah, the advantage I would give the mirror clip would be that there are more of the remaining chests closer to that than there are to the middle section. So you can check a lot more density a lot quicker. But if they're not the right chests, that doesn't really matter.
Yep, and if you opted to dip the front of T-Rock, it's probably just the best to do it this way.
Christos heading through the escape sequence finds a blue rupee in, one of very, very few chests in the escape sequence that can't be a blue rupee. Since the game does love to try to push lamp on you early, and if you already have the lamp, it's just like, here's $5. I don't care.
I've been thinking about what could he possibly find in here, but yeah, you're right. There's like Quake and that's it, right? That's all we don't know about at this point.
I did enjoy Espeon riding his way through that pipe and then going, wait a second, I have the mirror, I can just go back. Yeah, at this point, I would say the two things that hurt Chris most are hey, red mail. It was the only other thing. But the two things that hurt him most were, one, not checking Graveyard Ledge, which had the Titan's Mitts, which aren't required, but they make a lot of things a lot easier. And two, after that hard lock, he gambled real hard that Bombos was the only thing Eastern Palace had to offer, and is just now finally returning.
Yep. And, well, it's not even his last possible location. NMG-wise, Graveyard Ledge is actually open to him with the mirror, right? So he could opt to go there, but it's such an awkward location, as you mentioned earlier. So he is going to be beating himself up once he picks up that hookshot from Thomas here.
Meanwhile, Espeon off to fight the three-headed beast that is Trinex. Then he'll just have to finish Ganon's Tower, do Swamp Palace and Desert Palace. So he's got a ways of stuff to go, but he has a definitive lead at this point.
Yep, and these crystals should be fairly fast. He already has Desert Big Key, so all he has to do is clip into the back of Desert Palace and, well, go on Swamp. That's actually super fast.
If that said, once Christos gets the hookshot, he's going to have Go Mode Swamp, Go Mode Ice, assuming he does the mirror wrap into Ice. So don't get me wrong, this isn't over. Espeon just has a decided advantage. He is in the lead, but Christos' execution can't be underestimated here. And where is Espeon going? He is going to go take care of GT first. That'll put him on the pyramid, and then he can go down to... I don't know if he'll do Desert first or Swamp. They're both decent decisions.
I think he's going to do Swamp first. No, sorry, Desert first, because then he'll finish at Swamp and he'll be in the Darkhold. All he has to do at that point is just walk on top of the pyramid.
So he's now headed straight upstairs in GT, and at this point, it's a tighter race than you could have expected for how things have gone, but... Also worth noting, Christos still hasn't seen those silver arrows. I actually kind of forget where the oh yeah, silvers were Skull Woods.
Yeah, at this point it's fair to assume he'll never pick those up.
Yeah, unless he's very, very uncomfortable with that mirror wrap. And while Espeon is choosing to do the gauntlet first, Christos is immediately noping out going to Swamp. And this is kind of where Espeon's lead, so to speak, comes in. If Christos isn't 100% comfortable with that mirror wrap, he's going to be checking more chests than necessary in Swamp.
Oh no, he's going to attempt it. I think he learned his lesson. He'll start lower. Also, he's about to lose no progression there.
Oh, close.
I think, yeah, he can recover with a clip, I believe. Nope. He'll have to do it all over again. It's a tricky one. The geometry here is like... Sorry, not geometry. What am I even talking about? Geography here is kind of weird.
Yeah, you don't have a very wide margin of spaces to get through on that.
Alright, now he's sword buffering to the edge, but he could also use a bomb if he doesn't know where the transition is exactly. Otherwise, that might happen.
Yep, Mir just a little bit before the transition. Now he has to stand here and wait for himself to get pulled back through the portal.
That is also the wrong decision, because you could move down a bit out of the portal and back up, and for some reason that puts you back in the dark portal much faster.
Gets it on try 2 though, just a matter of, is he too low? Nope, he gets in there, so yep, he is fully in go mode, and this is a race at this moment.
Yep. We'll see if his execution is going to be enough to bring him back from a 1 crystal, well, more like 1.5 crystal with half a gauntlet done on Espeon's side. Penalty. Penalty? Not penalty. I don't know the word for this. Help me out here. Disadvantage.
Yeah, that's kind of probably the best word for it. And Moldorm 2 is down. Espeon is opening. Hey, it's Quake!
We found Quake.
We have found literally everything worth noting in this seed.
It's worth noting that that might as well have been the Maya Medallion.
Oh, what Christos would have given for that to have been the Maya Medallion. Espeon gets a double on phase 1. I think that only counted as 2 on phase 2 as well, so you should have 4 hits right now.
Very quick Agatu.
Yep, 3 cycle is the best you can guarantee. Because of blue balls, that's the lowest that you can always get if you do things well. Now the bat lands through the pyramid. He cannot just drop in here because Ganon will be invincible until he finishes Swamp and Desert.
Christos not bothering with any of the chests he truly knows. He needs to make up time.
Yep, and he's actually going to have the crystal lead for a moment here.
Oh, that's it. That's true. Of sorts. Ganon's Tower is the longest crystal that you need, in some sense of the word.
True. I wouldn't put it as a lead, but crystal-wise, he's going to be ahead until Espeon finishes Swamp here. to answer the question in chat on why do GT before Swamp and Desert, the easiest answer is he was already on Death Mountain, but yeah, you could argue that it probably would have been quicker to just save and quit there later, do Hair Clip to GT Clip, and go in that way instead of walking across from TR.
Yep, this way he has to walk to the pyramid one extra time. It actually is a minor time loss, all things considered. Christos going to the swamp in the light world. That's not how you enter it.
Maybe he's been playing too much inverted mode lately, and was saying that he had a mirror over to get into the swamp afterwards. Because I do know that they're playtesting that, and I personally am very much looking forward to it. But I feel like it's the kind of thing that if you were playing it to playtest and then jumped into a race, you might do things like walk the swamp in the light world and be like, wait a second.
Oh yeah, I can see it messing up all sorts of muscle memory that you have established.
So Espeon will be out of Swamp before Christos, most likely, unless something goes terribly wrong. Then he'll have to go clear Desert, which is super quick, while Christos goes through the Gauntlet, and then get back up to the Pyramid. I'd say, all things equal, he'll be entering Ganon a little bit ahead, but mistakes on Ganon are going to be very costly.
And also consider the equipment difference between the two races. Christos at this point is all but guaranteed to have to do Tempered Sword Silverless.
Yeah, the silvers are a nice edge in Espeon's favor. The Tempered Sword versus Golden Sword with someone of Christos level, he's most likely going to get the 1-in-1 cycle on Ganon anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But silvers do invariably add around 40 plus seconds to a Ganon fight. So I'd say at this point it's Espeon's race to lose, but Christos is by no means out of it.
Yep, it is extremely close at the current point in time, but yes, with a slight edge to Espeon.
Had a very nice phase 1 on Argus there, gonna launch a silver arrow into him for phase 2. Very, very good fight all around.
All he has to do now is walk up to the pyramid and take the hole that he created earlier on.
Yep, and I think probably why he did Swamp first, he could just walk up, flip into the mire area, and mirror right into Desert.
Yeah, my bad. I actually thought that was his 7th crystal.
He's still got a little bit to go. I do really like this routing, though. It's probably at least as beneficial as ending with Swamp to go to Pyramid quicker.
It's hard to argue in the favor of either of the routing options, although he is... Oh, he's going to lose some time, in my opinion, here, because... just because of the fact that he has to do extra clips compared to mirroring.
Yeah, bright side is he can walk back across that ledge, hit that portal to get right back into the Dark World, and run straight over to Pyramid. And Christos now does have his 7th crystal. So first one to 7 crystals, but he's still got all of the Gauntlet and Aghanim 2 to go. And this kind of goes back to what we said near the beginning there in terms of the strengths of these two players. Christos had a hard lock, it lost him his Helmasaur kill, lost him some progress, resulted in an ill-advised Mire play, as a bit of a gamble, whereas Espeon has had 0 glitches, 0 mistakes with his glitches, and that's really what's allowed him to have this advantage right now.
Yep, it definitely pays to know your glitches in and out. Although, that being said, he had to use the less simply because of the presence of those myths. And for Christos, it didn't take him so far off track because, you know, Smiths are absolutely not in logic without myths. So there's some positive benefit to him not actually ever collecting those myths from Graveyard Ledge.
That is true. It did kind of balance out a little bit. And now Espeon with his 7th crystal will head over to Ganon. Is he going to do some kind of mirror wrap here? Or is he going to fake flute?
He's probably looking... I actually have no idea.
I'm not going to lie, with the mirror portal right there, I don't know what he could do that was really quicker than either a save and quit or using that mirror portal.
I feel like he's going to food to 5 with this and enter the Dark World there, and it is slightly faster than running if you get the transition on the first try.
Yeah, I can see that. I was thinking, I don't know, would save and quit still outdo that a little bit overrunning?
No, save and quit definitely would be worse because now you have to go down a screen, enter the Dark World, up a screen, compared to just taking the portal and going 2 screens right.
That's true. That's true. That Hinox was just right in his way with those bombs.
Really likes to do that. I've noticed that lately. Just stand there and spam bombs in exactly that avenue.
Now here's an important note for people unfamiliar with this mode. If Espeon dies to Ganon, it's not going to be like no glitches where he just respawns on the pyramid. He'll have a normal save and quit start menu and have to run back here. So playing it safe on Ganon is a lot more important in this mode.
I lost my 2nd tournament race against Espeon, dying to Ganon. That was the entire difference. So I've learned that one pretty handily.
I remember that. That was a very tense finish to that race. This one is looking kind of like a no glitches finish. You got one runner going through the gauntlet while the other fights Ganon. If you didn't know what this mode was and what had happened so far, you'd think that this was just, you know, the normal spring tournament style race.
Yeah, except for the part where recently Espeon used a potion to transport himself around the world. And where Christos is in a Ganon's tower that's not actually open right now.
Yeah, but people who just got here wouldn't be able to see those things.
If you tuned in exactly this moment, these runners used major glitches. I'm sorry. Christos realizing he has to go back and kill a mini-Helmer for his small key.
And with that, as long as Espeon doesn't walk off the ledge of destiny, he'll be taking game 1 from Christos here.
And he finishes with an official SRTV time of 1 hour, 38 minutes, and 31 seconds. GG to him.
Indeed, very well played. Like I said, the lack of any issues with the glitches definitely helped him a whole lot, but that's not to discount just clean play throughout that whole run.
Absolutely.
Now Christos heading up to his Aghanim 2 fight. We'll be getting this out of the way, then just got to kill the pig, and he will be done as well.
Although once more, he's looking at a slightly less efficient gear for the pig fight.
Very, very true.
Espeon is joining us for an interview, so yeah, let's get him in here. Hello, hello, GG.
Hello.
Hi, GG.
I'm surprised.
Don't be. You did a very clean run through that seed. You've been thorough, you've been routing well, you didn't really have any huge execution mistakes. So, it was overall a very good run from you.
I actually didn't route it. Okay, like, from the perspective of somebody who was actually running the seed, I didn't route it particularly well. I did a bunch of stupid things. Like, I didn't chain Graveyard Wedge into Pyramid Fairy, which I immediately kicked myself afterwards for not doing.
You did do a very, very nice way of getting down to Hyrule Castle through the Houlihan room. I think that's actually just slightly faster than going to the courtyard.
I think the super jump is a little bit faster, but I don't know how to do it, so I just do Houlihan.
Yeah, the super jump is basically just style points, really, at that point. But like compared to the glitch execution of Christos, for example, again, you did a very clean run. He actually hard locked doing the mirror wrap to Ice Palace, which caused him to lose all his progress on killing Helmsaw.
Yeah, that mirror wrap is kind of scary if you don't do it properly.
So, tell us about that seed. Ooh. Christos, meanwhile, taking a fall to Ganon.
Oh well. So, the seed was... It was okay. I didn't get hookshot until, I think, an hour or so in, which was a good bit later than I was hoping. But the late hookshot was actually okay, because it let me deduce that Samaria was hookshot locked, so I didn't really bother going into total lock until I got the hookshot.
Yep, that was actually a fairly late item for both of you. You actually picked up Flippers and Hookshot almost at the same time, except then you needed Flippers and he needed Hookshot for go mode. But yes, the big information of the seed was, alright, well, Hookshot cannot be behind the Cane of Samaria.
Although actually, if I had just mirror wrapped into total lock earlier, I was actually thinking about doing that instead of, I forget what I did. I think I just did a, I forget how I routed it after, when I went into the Dark World for the first time. Oh, yeah, I remember, because Pearl was in Pyramid Fairy. So I got that, and if it wasn't there, I was contemplating doing the one frame clip to total lock and then mirror wrapping, but I didn't do that. And then I was thinking about doing it later when I went to GT for the first time, but I didn't do it there either. And if I had done that, then I would have gotten flippers a lot earlier than I did.
I was actually surprised that you decided to go into T-Rock from the front door, given that you only need one item, so...
Yeah, I needed the big key, though.
Yeah, but you know which chests you can exclude, and the items are always in the back. I don't know, it's not a particularly bad decision either way.
And then I was going to go to GT after TR, because I had hookshot and everything to finish it, except I wasn't really thinking, because that's terrible routing.
Yeah, we mentioned that one a little bit, that it worked. It's just a little bit slower to not get dropped on the pyramid after the other crystals instead of doing it beforehand.
Did make up a slight bit of time by doing that fake flute, although...
I'm pretty sure I actually lost time doing that.
Yes, that's what I was going to say, is that given that you didn't pull it off on the first try, it probably would have been better to just walk.
Yeah, first try fake fruit would probably have saved time, but I was bad, so I didn't get it.
Christos currently burning everything in front of the pyramid to the ground.
I have honestly no idea what he's doing right now, but it looks interesting.
Having some fun, frustrated I lost moments. So kind of the other downside for him, Espeon, was after that whole hard lock that lost some Helmasaur, he made the play into Eastern Palace right there. Found Bombos and decided, I'm behind after that hard lock, I'm going to gamble, head straight to Misery Mire. So he pieced out with the first item from Eastern, went and cleared out everything in Misery Mire except the boss. That was a pretty big time loss on his end.
So instead of with a hook shot, he ended up with a big 20 and a piece of heart.
That's unfortunate. Yeah, I mean, if you have a item on there, I mean, yeah, it was a gamble, definitely, because, you know, you don't really know what's necessarily there or not, so it kind of makes sense if you feel that far behind, and you definitely did after getting a hard lock. Anyone would, so yeah, that makes sense, except nothing turned up there. I was actually really scared when I got Bombos in Eastern, because I thought that he would have gone to Eastern much earlier, and then he would have gone to Misery Mire and gotten whatever progression was hypothetically there, and then I would be behind, because I have a bad habit of not going to Eastern for a very long time.
I feel like it's one of those things where the first sphere is so large that the 3, but more likely 2, although you did have an early bow, but the 3 more likely 2 items in Eastern are generally just not worth it, especially if it's pendant. So I think that anyone would really make that decision.
So
Otherwise, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so you got a 1-0 lead on ChristosOwen, Espeon. How are you feeling going into game 2 tonight? Think you can seal the deal?
I don't know. It's really all dependent on seed we get, obviously, because our strengths are so different, I think, that a seed where you get this kind of, like, glitches are, like, helpful in getting around, as opposed to kind of one where you get a bunch of standard items early, like if you get early hammer, early glove, pretty reasonable moon pearl, then he definitely has an advantage there, because he can just go into Dark World and do stuff faster than I can. But if you need to go around and do things with glitches, then I guess my execution there is a little bit better.
He did take a while to get his, well, conventional means of Dark World access. He never picked up the mids from Graveyard Ledge. Those are still sitting there. He did get Hammer faster than you, if I remember correctly, though. Probably because he was less comfortable with glitching everywhere from Death Mountain. So he was just looking to clear Hookshot Cave as soon as possible. It was an interesting dynamic. He did make up a lot of time on you after that. Well, botched mirror wrap, should I say. And the following gamble. It could have turned out to be a close race, but as you can see, he is taking his time to finish off Gaddon right now.
Yeah, I think the only thing that let me win would be that mirror wrap failure, honestly. So, okay, I'm just gonna hope that he walks again in the next race.
Yeah, without that, it certainly would have been a lot closer. You had a pretty decent advantage when you were going into Desert. It was pretty clear that if you didn't screw up, it was your race to lose, but It was still close enough where, yeah, the time difference was probably accounted for because of that hard lock.
Also, another stupid thing I did was not do Desert after Misery Mire because I had everything I needed to do it. I had a Fire Rod, and that just guarantees you a very fast Minimalist. And then I didn't do it because I wasn't thinking about it.
I think it happens, and honestly, it's not a huge deal with Desert not having an item remaining in it. It's just one of those things that you'll pretty quickly clean up once you're actually in go mode.
So Chris is about to finish off Ganon, assuming that he doesn't intentionally take a pat in the face.
I think if Chris does not want to take a bat in the face here, he won't.
He's doing this with the lamp after the fall on the last fight of Ganon. Short on magic, uses up the rest of it as Ganon explodes.
And that's one advantage you also had is just Silver's, like, even if you guys entered the Ganon fight at the same time, he was doing Tempered Silverless. And with that, ChristosOwen finishes with an official SRTV time of 1 hour, 50 minutes, and 56 seconds. GG to him as well. Let's see if he's going to join up for an interview. I think he's about to enter. Any second now.
In the meantime, just want to give the general shout out of, if you liked what you saw, give these two a follow. I know Christos is obviously someone who is well known in this community. If you've been around this community for a while, you probably already know him. You've probably already watched him outside of tournament races. Espeon is a little bit, I believe, if I recall, this is your first tournament you've done. So not someone who you're as likely to have known in advance, but the man is extremely knowledgeable about glitches. He's a fun person to watch go through this game.
He is a regular in the Randomizer Discord's glitch mode channels, and he is always willing to help out with your journey into major glitches.
And here we are joined by ChristosOwen. How you doing?
Yo. Good games, Espeon.
Good game.
I'm just gonna put that one in the trash and try and move on. There was nothing remotely good about my gameplay or routing in that.
So tell us how you feel about the Ice Palace mirror wrap.
Yeah, I was doing okay until that point. I was still playing pretty sloppy, and then losing all of Pod and my whole Dark World sweep of items. Even though I didn't find much, and Pod didn't really have much, that was still the crystals progress, and like a bunch of health and some bottles or whatever. So that felt pretty bad. So I was like, okay, let's just gamble on something. So I was like, okay, let's just do Eastern. And then I found Bombos in the first chest, and then I was like, okay, let's bail on Eastern, let's go do Maya. And if I just continued in Eastern, obviously, then would have found Hookshot. That would have been a nice little earlier advantage. But it was not to be.
That gamble could have turned out very differently. If you pick up Hookshot on that spot, you've got a Ganon's Tower clear on your first visit.
I don't think Hookshot mattered too much overall, actually. Could have gotten it earlier or later or whatever, and it would have been about the same, I think.
It was the last thing I was looking for, so I was searching for it for quite a while. Like after I already bailed on Eastern, like I went back and did all of Escape. I just didn't clear a bunch of obvious things because I knew if it was the answer I'd lost. So I didn't check any of Village of Outcasts other than Thieves Down for the Crystal. Never went into Skullwoods. I don't think I did Dig Game. I was just checking locations I thought you might not have checked, like Mitless, Pegs. I was going to YBA to check.
Why would I not check Mitless?
And other things like that.
Yeah,
You
worth
also
noting.
passed by Myths a couple of times.
Where were they?
Graveyard Ledge.
Oh, I just
Anytime
forgot
you-
that existed, actually.
Yeah, it's one of those places that can become very awkward, but anytime you spawn at Mountain Cave, it's within reach.
I got baited by Mitts, actually. I went to Ice Palace and full cleared it, and I was really mad when I didn't find anything.
Oh, ouch, okay. Yeah, I got Gomod at Ice at least. Because I knew, at that point, I knew it couldn't have anything, because I still didn't have Mitts. I just went back and, on my third attempt, got the mirror up. But it's just me being bad at glitches, which costs a lot of time. But my execution was extremely poor as well. Like the hard lock, besides lots of other things. Like I just forgot how to do how to get to the northwest room of GT without the hook shot, so I didn't bother doing it on my first trip through GT. And then when I went back, I was like, oh, it's literally just one bomb jump. Just things I haven't done for years and I haven't practiced. I just forgot how they work.
Overall, you brought it back pretty close, though. Like, at the end of the day, well, you fell to Ganon, but otherwise it probably would have been a within 2 minutes finish.
Yeah, Espeon finished when I was entering the Moldorm 2 room, and I'd already had 7 crystals, so it wasn't far behind. But it was just because I skipped a bunch of obvious things. Not like, not obvious, but like easily accessible, I guess is a better way of putting it. But yeah, that was terrible.
It was absolutely fine, and it was a good show.
I'm glad it was kind of close. Just like if you ignore the horrible finish, it wasn't too far apart at least. But I'm gonna go back to bed for a few hours before our match later because I am exhausted. I just couldn't focus at all.
Yep. Don't forget, guys, these 2 races are going to be racing again today in quick head count about 7 hours, I believe.
Yeah, 5:30 Eastern, which is 9:30 in whatever the European time is called.
10:30 for me.
10:30 British time, 11:30 Central European time.
Yeah, good old Western Europe. We're actually in British summertime, BST. It's like a time zone no one's ever heard of.
I have from British people.
But yeah, I'm probably not going to watch that one back. I don't really want to see my poor performance. But no, well, good job on the win, Espeon. I knew it was going to be tough, even if I'd play well, because you're a lot better than me at glitches overall.
Okay, but you're a lot better at me than at doing everything that isn't a glitch.
Not today, not in that game. So hopefully I can pull that back later. But yeah.
You know, I'm looking forward to game 2, even though I'm going to be fast asleep while it's going on. So good luck to you both on that one.
Thank you very much. And thank you guys for commentating and restreaming and tracking and all that malarkey. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later on.
So with that, any other comments before we wrap up here? Alright, I think that's it then. So thank you all for joining us. Thanks to our racers ChristosOwen and Espeon. Give them a follow. Thank you to my co-commentator Mentosman, and to our tracker Crunchy Chocobo.
It's been a blast, and make sure you guys hang around, check out Speed Gaming 4 later. where that second race will be on. Should be another good show.
And this is the point where you press the end stream button before it gets awkward.